Welcome back to the Bite-Size Brief. Today, we are delivering a one-on-one tutorial explainer going incredibly deep on Archer Aviation, ticker symbol ACHR. Look, if you follow the aerospace sector at all, you know that right now, absolutely all eyes are on this company. We're looking at the landscape as of August 11th, 2026, and a literal game-changing catalyst is just dropped regarding a definitive agreement with Boeing. So grab a coffee because we really need to unpack exactly what this means for Archer's future.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting the air taxi revolution, how Archer actually plans to make money, the recent ledger updates with that Boeing deal, the bull versus bear cases, and finally the road ahead. Let's just dive right in. Section 1. The air taxi revolution. To truly get Archer, we first have to set the stage on this rapidly evolving aerospace sector they operate in. We aren't just talking about building a slightly better airplane here. We're talking about an entirely new category of transportation, specifically eVTOLs. That's electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. Picture this, sleek, fully electric aircraft that takes off straight up into the air just like a helicopter, but then seamlessly transitions to horizontal flight like a regular plane. They're incredibly quiet, they have zero heavy emissions, and the whole goal? Urban air mobility. Basically, solving gridlocked city traffic by taking your everyday commute to the skies.
Moving on to Section 2, how Archer makes money.
Because, building cool sci-fi tech is one thing, but building a profitable, scalable company, that is an entirely different beast. It's the multi-billion-dollar question hovering over this whole industry. How exactly does a pre-revenue company plan to make money in a sector that has absolutely zero historical blueprint? There's no legacy data to pull from. They are literally writing the playbook as they go.
Well, Archer's business model is kind of a brilliant dual threat. First off, they act as an original equipment manufacturer, or OEM. Think of this like Airbus or Boeing. They build the physical midnight aircraft and sell them directly to third-party fleets or airlines, which brings in these massive upfront chunks of capital. But, and here's the kicker, they also plan to operate their own vertically integrated network. Think of this part like Uber Air. You open an app, you book a flight, and Archer takes a cut of that recurring passenger revenue.
But hey, they aren't just relying on everyday civilian commuters. Archer is aggressively pivoting into the defense sector too. They're utilizing programs like the U.S. Air Force's Agility Prime to secure vital military development contracts. And why does this matter? Because this provides non-dilutive funding. That means Archer gets cold, hard cash to develop their tech without having to issue more shares and water down the stock for current investors. The military desperately wants these quiet electric aircraft for stealth, transport, and logistics, so it's a huge win-win.
All right, Section 3, the Boeing game changer and the ledger.
Let's talk about that massive August 11th catalyst because it completely rescapes the investment thesis here. Archer and Boeing announced a definitive agreement that is just, wow, it's an absolute game changer. Archer is acquiring 3 subsidiaries directly from Boeing, Wisk Aero, SkyGrid, and In Situ. In return, Boeing is taking a nearly 20% equity stake in Archer. Guys, this isn't just some simple asset swap. This is heavy institutional validation. Boeing is effectively tying its own future in the eVTOL space directly to Archer. Plus, it materially expands Archer's tech footprint, especially in physical AI and autonomous flight, mostly thanks to that Wisk acquisition.
And this right here illustrates the immediate value of that deal. By picking up In Situ from Boeing, Archer just gained a profitable, established defense drone business that is already generating over $200 million in annual revenue. Let that sink in. Almost overnight, Archer pivoted from being a purely pre-revenue, cash-burning development company into an entity with a significant cash-generating defense arm. That operational relief is absolutely massive while they wait for civilian FAA certification.
But let's take a deliberate pause here. We have to look at the harsh realities of their legacy operations before this deal. In their Q1 2026 earnings, Archer reported a brutal net loss of $217.7 million. Their adjusted EBITDA loss was $172.5 million. I mean, building a brand new type of aircraft from scratch, getting it certified, and building out manufacturing facilities, it requires an astronomical amount of cash burn.
Now, compare that massive cash burn to their legacy Q1 revenue, which was just $1.6 million. This really drives home the stark pre-scale reality of the company prior to the Boeing deal. They were spending hundreds of millions of dollars just to keep the lights on and the research moving forward.
However, they are definitely not operating on empty. Even with that crazy cash burn, Archer boasted roughly $1.8 billion in current liquidity as of Q1. So what does that mean for us? It provides a very substantial runway. They have the capital to fund their heavy R&D, build out their manufacturing plant down in Georgia, and actually survive the grueling FAA certification process over the next few years without immediately running out of cash. And for early-stage investors, that runway is the ultimate survival metric.
Which brings us to sections 4 and 5, the bull versus the bear case.
It's time to weigh these massive new catalysts against the undeniable financial risks. We've got to objectively contrast the lucrative DoD contracts and their aggressive international launch plans against the brutal unit economics and regulatory hurdles that are standing in the way of true profitability. It is a classic battle of future potential versus present execution risk. When we look at the competitive context, the market constantly measures Archer against its main rival, Joby Aviation. And it's a super fascinating contrast, right? Joby operates with a much tighter, vertically integrated supply chain. They make a lot more of their own parts in-house, which historically gives them a richer valuation. Archer, on the flip side, leans heavily on partnerships. Think Stellantis for manufacturing or United Airlines for routes. Plus, Archer is pushing a multi-jurisdiction strategy, actively trying to get certified in the US and the UAE at the exact same time.
So, let's look at the concrete case for the bull side. It really relies heavily on momentum. Archer has a massive conditional order from Future Flight Global for up to 116 aircraft that's valued at a whopping $580 million. They've also unveiled Thunder, which is an autonomous defense VTOL built in partnership with the military tech giant Anduril Industries. They're sitting on a potential $142 million Agility Prime contract with the DoD, and crucially, this is huge on the regulatory front, they recently became the first U.S. eVTOL company to complete Stage 3 of the notoriously strict 4-stage FAA type certification process. They are clearing the hurdles, folks.
But we have to look at the bear case, which focuses on some very specific, severe operational risks. Beyond that sky-high cash burn we already talked about, industry analysts are laser-focused on the unproven commercial ticket economics. The Midnight aircraft costs roughly $5 million just to produce. Now, if battery wear limits the lifespan of these units to, say, 3 to 7 years, actually that's about 10,000 flights, operators are going to have to charge a serious premium for tickets just to break even on the aircraft cost, the maintenance, and paying the pilots. If a 20-minute flight ends up costing you $200 to $500, is there really a mass market for that? Or does this just become a neat novelty for the ultra-wealthy? Throw in the constant risk of strict FAA regulatory delays, and that path to profitability starts to look incredibly steep.
Section 6. The road ahead.
Let's look at the critical milestones you need to be watching next. This timeline plots the exact path to commercialization. So, they cleared Stage 3 certification in Q1. The next big catalysts? Initial pilot operations expected in the US and the UAE by late 2026. Now, this isn't full commercial service yet, it's mostly testing and community integration. The real target, the moment Archer absolutely must transition from a hype-driven development story into generating real sustainable operator revenue, is 2028. They are aiming for a massive commercial launch to coincide with the Los Angeles Olympics, which would be followed closely by heavier deployments of their hybrid defense platforms.
The stakes here literally could not be higher. They've got the Boeing backing, they've got the DoD contracts, and they have the capital. But at the end of the day, if they can't prove the everyday mass market economics of flying electric taxis, well, none of it matters. Will Archer successfully rewrite aviation history, or just burn through billions trying? That wraps up today's deep dive explainer on Archer Aviation. If you want a sharper, even more candid discussion, be sure to join us for our full audio podcast. And please, drop your takes in the comments below because we really do read every single one. Until next time, stay focused and keep learning.